This is the Turf Zone Podcast, your central information and news hub, bringing together professionals from turf associations across multiple states to share things to help you and your business. Brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Arkansas Turfgrass Association. Now, let's get in the zone.
Welcome to the Turf Zone. Today we're talking to Chuck Cross, Turf Management and P.E teacher at Ashdown High School in Ashdown, Arkansas. Chuck, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Chuck, we want to talk today and let Arkansas Turfgrass managers, members of Arkansas Turfgrass Association know about your turf management program. So let's start at the beginning of that and tell me a little bit about how the program was started.
With quarantine, it's been a crazy year in education. So it started, I guess everybody's phone time has went up since everybody's been quarantined. So it started with just like me looking at turfgrass programs through like Twitter, social media, and because I've been kind of doing it on my own with the help of the baseball team and assistant coaches the last 7 years. And I ran upon South Forsyth, Georgia's Twitter page and just kind of screenshot it and sent it to our superintendent. And I was like, man, we should think about doing this here at Ashdown because I know their baseball coach runs it. And it was it was just an idea where I wanted to start it in the fall of this year, 2021, when we come back to school. And that was like in October of last year. And we had a meeting and he was like, let's just start it like right now. And that was in October. And they've been like the superintendent, the athletic director, the curriculum director, the principals have been great, the counselors, because they had to change schedules. And we just started it like on a whim and just like right off a limb in November, started it. I kind of just drew from kids that were blended. And then we actually started the class as soon as we came back from Christmas break of 2021.
So did you have a lot of student interest? Is that something maybe that came from sports, or were there kids that already knew about turfgrass management as a skill or a job path?
We've had some interest over the years. Like I think probably 2 or 3 of my baseball players have gone on to do like small lawn businesses. And then we have BWI, which is in Texarkana. It's a big corporation that, supplies people with pesticides. I mean, anything you want for lawn care. And we have a couple guys that work over there. And then we have a bunch of golf courses around and we're probably the only grass field around, but kids have been interested for a while. And then when I just started telling PE kids and started telling baseball and football players, and then and then the girls too, that I was going to have a class, like I had a lot of interest but I could only make it, like I had to downsize it for the first year, but I think next year it's going to be fairly big.
That's awesome that you've gotten a lot of interest. I think a big struggle in the industry is just having people understand that this can be a really great career. And, there are levels of it that, like you mentioned, kids can come out of high school and they can have their smaller lawn businesses, or there are higher education paths to turfgrass management careers. So getting a little bit of experience early on and understanding it as a career path is huge in building the next generation, I guess, of turfgrass management. Thinking about that career path and that build up to that job, tell me a little bit about your background. Have you been in turfgrass management or have you always been in education?
Always been in education. Like I feel like in my second life, I'm going to be a golf course superintendent. But I love golf. I try to compete at a lower level golf. My kids love golf. My wife loves golf. So like you get that background where you love going to a nice golf course. Me and my son play at Texarkana Country Club, which is traditional. It's a pretty prestigious course over in Texarkana. Byron Nelson was a club pro there at one time. But like I think maybe my interest came from my grandpa, like just his yard in particular. Like he lived close to the ballpark in Arlington, which the Texas Rangers play. And he did a great job with his yard. And then he took me out there and just kind of fall in love with grass. Like through a ballpark, baseball, football standpoint, and then playing golf, like you get to see the different types of grass and how the guys keep it low and keep it cut and edged and everything. And it's kind of grown on me. I mean, I'm still learning. Like, Mike Richardson sent us some books from the University of Arkansas, and like they've been awesome to read. Like there's a lot of stuff I don't know, like irrigation. I'm pretty good with pesticides and types of grass and how to cut the grass and keep weeds and fairy rings and stuff out of the grass. But like there's a lot that I can learn to teach kids more, that they didn't even know went into turf grass.
Even though you've got all the experience in the background, you're learning the actual book part of it as well. Like, where are you getting that support from? You guys have like FFA, obviously. So Dr. Richardson at University of Arkansas is a great resource. So where's all the information come as you're building the program and the kids are learning it too?
And there's I've been a part of baseball for probably 20 plus years. And like the support with baseball is the group of baseball coaches are awesome. But like, I'm telling you, it doesn't compare to the Turfgrass community, because I just started the Twitter and I got with Mike on like how we were going to start this thing. He kind of mentored me like just through email. Like I've never talked to Mike. Like it's all been email, Twitter, and he has been great. Like the Turfgrass community is unreal. Like I don't really compare it. I can't compare it to anybody because nobody's out to get you. They're all out to help you. And like Mike has been great. Karen has been great. And then the superintendent at Texas County Country Club, Kenny Sawyer, like if I need anything, I call him. And then Brad Essery, Turfus, he's been really good. So I have an outlet to call a bunch of people and just get them on the phone for help if I need it. But Karen is trying to hook me up with a bunch of more people. We haven't had the time. We hosted district, state, and regional this year, and she's been trying to get me to Zoom. Mike, too, has been trying to get me to Zoom with higher end people in the Turfgrass community. We haven't had the time yet, so maybe we can get around to that in the fall. But like the hospitality has been amazing. Like I mean, I can kind of compare it to the Arkansas Baseball Coaches Association, but like they're just amazing. And I think they want every kid to have an opportunity for jobs and just to grow the Turfgrass Association.
I know that is one thing that's also impressed me about the Turfgrass community. I haven't always worked in this exact industry, but in the past 3 years that I've been a part of it, it's really impressive how everybody collaborates and works together and shares knowledge. You're right, it does not feel competitive in the sense of everybody wants everybody to succeed. I mean, maybe you want golfers to be at your course versus, going down the road somewhere else, but it is definitely a great, friendly community. Let's shift gears and talk about what are your students doing? So I know that you kind of started the program and got going on the fly pretty quickly. So what have you had them working on this school year?
We started in the fall with just overseeding the football field with perennial ryegrass. And I think that was our first Twitter post. After that, just working on the baseball and softball field, edging, weed eating, fertilizer, pesticides. Well, which I do that on my own. I let them kind of mix it and do that in. But and then they watch. Renovating the mound for softball. I mean, pretty much everything when it comes to sports turf management. We haven't gotten the golf side. I did take the kids one day to the Conference USA tournament. It was at Texas County Country Club, and they really enjoyed that. We were going to help them, but we felt like we may get in the way a little bit because those guys get out at like 4:00 in the morning and just get to work. But this is what I've been waiting to tell is like I've gave them all the opportunity to run the fairway mower. And like the one person that wanted to run it was a 9th grade girl. I had senior boys, junior boys, and like the kid that ran the mower, the big fairway mower on the athletic fields was a 9th grade girl. Kylie, it was great. Like you didn't expect it, but she's a farm girl. So it was pretty neat to watch her do that. But I mean, we were trying to get into irrigation, but that we may need that for next year. So, but I'm still learning too. Like those books, I was telling you about the books. Like I wish I would have had those 15 years ago because it's great for me.
So what are your goals for the future of the program? I know, there's so much you could add and teach, but what are your goals for, how many students you have and what they're actually doing hands-on, and for yourself, like you said, with, there's still always plenty to learn because technology and chemistry changes and evolves every year. So what do you hope for the program in the future?
Let me touch back on the other one first. We did plant a pecan tree for a family here that we lost a kid, pecan tree, and then we're going to plant some fruit trees at their house. So that's something different. But goals going forward, I think I'm going to have 2 classes next year. I'm hoping to have like Turf 1 and Turf 2 because that was it wasn't a setback. It took us a while to teach the kids how to, work the blower, work the weed eater, work the mower, and then real mowers you have to do a ton of maintenance on. So that took a lot of time up. So maybe if I can get Turf 1 and then Turf 2, we're still working on the curriculum to turn it in for maybe like a CTE or just like relate it to Agri. But right now it's just going to have to be a school credit until we get that. We've actually turned it in May 1, but if they approve it or what goes on there. But just to have 2 different classes where maybe like it's the underclassmen, and we can teach them how to work the equipment. And then, each year, then they go into the other one and then we're just ready to roll like paint fields. And there's not a lot of teaching, maintenance and safety and all that in the next class. But also like, I've had 3 other schools just get in contact with me to see how they can get started. And that would be a goal. That would be a goal, I think, of mine and maybe Mike's and Karen's and just all the people in the Turfgrass is just to get, because we're a small city. I mean, we're close to Texarkana, which is 100,000. But like if we could get some schools in Little Rock and in the Fayetteville area where they have more golf courses and they have more fields where we can start putting out kids that take pride in turf management.
Definitely. I know that a lot of times finding the resources in a school system in smaller towns to maintain the fields is a big challenge, and I've seen some rough looking some high school fields as we've traveled for sports in my family. So I know there's a program in Virginia that travels to other schools to they basically do a tour of the high schools in the county, and they paint their fields before their homecoming games. So I love the innovation of high school programs doing that kind of work. So sounds like you've got a good group that maybe one day y'all can go on tour. What's the hardest part of this program so far?
Like I say, the kids are interested, like they are interested in like doing hands-on stuff, but like just like maybe teaching them to take pride in like what they're doing and like how it's supposed to look. Like, cause I mean, like our baseball field is probably the nicest baseball, and softball complex is probably the nicest. I don't want to say in the whole state because I don't want to make anybody mad, but like it is one of the nicest in the whole state. Like we hosted state and we had some teams come in. They're like, well, this is like playing at Bomb. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. But it's just to get kids to try to understand what it's supposed to look like. And the different, like my goal this year, and it's a small goal, like it's a simple goal, was to teach them the difference between Bermuda, ryegrass, and then the different types of weeds. And I think by the end, when we went to the golf tournament, like I would point at random grass and they would tell me what it was. And a lot of times they got it wrong, but like, it's just to get them to understand, because we're talking about rural kids, like to what a golf course or what a baseball field is supposed to look like. That's the hardest part. They love to work. Like if you can just get your plan out and like have them doing something, they'll get right to work. If you don't, that's a hard part too, is they'll stand around unless you tell them exactly what they're supposed to be doing, because they love to work and they'll do exactly what you tell them to do. But it's just planning and then making sure that they're doing everything right. And you don't want to mess up equipment either. Like that would be a hard part, because you're always worried. Like if I'm off doing something else, I'm worried about Kylie on the mower and Johnny on the weed eater. Like it's you kind of got to babysit while you're trying to work too. But it's a great time. Like I love watching them. Like there's a couple of times where I've just sat back and just let them do exactly what they needed to do. And the pictures that you have, those are the days where I just kind of sit back and just watch them work.
Well, that's encouraging to hear that this generation, I mean, specifically, they're interested in this type of work and that they want to work, and that when they have the understanding of it, I hate to stereotype, but you always like to hear about younger generations and they're lazy and they don't listen. But I don't think that's true. I think we've got some good hard workers and smart kids coming up, and I'm glad that they're getting this option, as just understanding that it's a career. So one more question. Let me close on this. How can working turf professionals, so members of ATA who may be listening to this, how can they support this program and help you guys with whatever path you may take in the future?
Oh man, that's a good question. That's a long question. So many different ways. Like I think this summer I'm going to work on contacting a lot of those guys, but like they've reached out. There's a few superintendents that have reached out to me, like, what do you need? And like, we could use everything you're not using. And because I'm running about 13 students right now, but we have one large fairway mower. We don't have 3 mowers. We have 1 weed eater. We have 2 blowers. Like any equipment that they're not using that may be sitting around, even if it's just slightly broke, because we have a really good maintenance guy here at Ashdown, we could use it. Like if they're just going to leave it out in the rain, we want it. Now, if it's valuable to them and they're going to make some money off of it, like we want them to do that instead. But like if they have anything just sitting around, we will take it, or we will use it and somehow, or maybe use the parts off of it. But Zoom, like anytime they want to Zoom, or we can contact them and they can contact us to Zoom and teach the kids, because those guys, I'm just spreading the word. They know way more than I do. The companies, the big companies could help out a lot. And I know they have. I've seen some articles with the other turf management schools. I haven't got anything out there yet, but the big companies that can donate, it is not anything out of their pocket to donate. Those guys can help. I'm hoping to get closer to BWI, because they can help out just by like maybe T-shirts or anything that'll help us promote the program. But they do a great job. That everybody has got in contact with me and said, hey, when we get a new lease, I can give you this. And that's a couple of like Hot Springs Village and Chenal and Little Rock, that those 2 guys have done a really good job of trying to find me a bunker rake. So just anything that they have that is maybe not valuable to them, but could be valuable to us, we can take it, because we don't have currently we don't have a budget, but I think next year we'll have a small budget where we can do more.
All right, I'm going to go back and you mentioned that you have a freshman girl who is mowing, and that's fantastic. I know that's probably surprising to some of those older boys that she wanted to do that. But have there been any other surprises along those lines with who your students are and what they do?
Yeah, the majority of our students are baseball players. Like they've been guys that have helped us, that have helped me out over the years. So that's where, I kind of drew interest in, like, because of the school year and us being kind of not an open campus, but they could come and go, because of the mask and COVID and stuff. Like, I just wanted to have them something to do. And then when I started asking kids, like, do you want to be in turf management? Like, we started getting girls, we started getting different ethnicities, and like our class is very diverse. And like next year, I'm hoping to make it even more diverse. But like I was talking about the girls, like no knock on the guys, but the girls work extremely hard. You give them a task and they complete it pretty quick, and they do a great job. But like there's a ton more kids at Ashdown that want to be in it, and I'm hoping that we can get them in it next year, so we can just give them opportunities for good jobs.
Absolutely. I think that's a great observation. I'm starting to notice a lot more diversity in the field, even in the 3 years that I've been working with turf managers. So I think that's always great to bring new people and new ideas and different perspectives into the field. So that's awesome that you're starting it at that high school level. For all photos associated with this article, please check out our show notes and don't miss an episode of Arkansas Turfgrass. You can subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also visit us at theturfzone.com.
You've been listening to The Turf Zone. For more episodes of The Turf Zone, visit theturfzone.com and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app.